Get ready, Ohio. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is coming to the Buckeye State. And to kick things off, you can get started with $100 in free bets as an early sign-up bonus. Plus, when you sign up today with promo code OhioSB, you'll be all set for when FanDuel goes live in Ohio. Then you can bet on all your favorite teams and all your favorite sports with $100 in free bets. Just download FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Ohio, this is your chance to get in on the action. Join today with promo code OhioSB. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Ohio. Bonus issued in non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after FanDuel accepts its first real money sports wager in Ohio on 1/1/23. Unique user identity verification required. Offer ends on the go-live date. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This holiday season, Peloton's got a gift for you. Get up to $400 off Peloton Bike, Bike Plus, or Tread packages. Choose the package that's right for you with accessories like our cycling shoes, a heart rate band, non-slip grip dumbbells, and more. Peloton, fitness that stays with you. This limited time offer ends December 25th. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more. All access membership separate. Offer ends December 25th, 2022. Excludes Bike, Bike Plus, and Tread Basics. See additional terms at onepeloton.com.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hey kids, do you like professional wrestling? We like professional wrestling too. This is Shake Them Ropes, the 2022 Shake Them Ropes Christmas Spectacular. I'm Jeff Hawkins along with Chris Novembrino, who was not expecting that intro.
No, I'm the ghost of Christmas future, baby.
Are you just
slide into the DMs?
Oh, are you just gonna you gonna point at gravestones of dead children? Is that?
Yeah, that's what usually happens on the first date.
That's Spirit. What can I do to fix this? You can't. Tiny Tim's gonna die. Too bad. Yes.
I'm a romantic at heart.
I have not watched any holiday themed stuff, and I've been on vacation the last week. I'm gonna have to do that tonight. I think I'm probably some Emmett Otter's Junkman Christmas on Disney Plus. You know, maybe Festivus, since we are taping this on the 23rd. The Festivus episode of Seinfeld's always a good thing. I'm gonna try and get my family to watch Scrooged. I don't think they're gonna go for that, but because they'll want something a little bit more wholesome, like Die Hard. I don't know. What do you got going on for your holiday? What's getting you in the spirit, Chris?
I bought eggnog and I poured whiskey into that eggnog.
Oh, you know what? That is something I have not yet done. And I love eggnog.
Yeah, I bought a bottle of Bullet Rye and eggnog.
So you're putting rye in your eggnog?
Yeah.
Not bourbon?
No.
Huh.
I like rye.
Well, I like rye. I just have never imagined doing it in the nog. That's the thing. It's like I've, some Makers, some Buffalo Trace, things like that. I put in eggnog, but never rye. I was just like, oh, well, okay, that might be something.
With a little bit of coffee.
Coffee's good.
Yeah, So you do the eggnog, you do the coffee, then you do the rye, and that has really made me think about the meaning behind the season.
Oh, really? Has it?
Yeah, it's actually making me think that maybe I need to think harder about the meaning of the season right now while we do this show.
Dr. Pepper and bourbon, which I'm currently imbibing.
I don't have that around here, but I do have the rye.
Yeah, it's quite a... Well, you know what? Dr. Pepper and rye might not be the worst thing in the world either, now that I'm thinking about it. Huh. Yes, Christmas is all about alcohol. That's all.
It really is. Like when we get down to the meaning of any holiday, it's about catching a buzz with your family.
Yeah.
Sometimes because you like them, and sometimes because you don't.
Which one are you?
a family?
Yeah, getting drunk with the fam.
Well, I'm not as big of as I undo the
I heard it. I heard it in the back.
I know I'm not that big of a drinker. So I would say that it depends. I always scan the crowd, right? Because like invariably, it's not that I can't mind my own language at this stage of my life. Younger Chris, a little more of a debate. But at this stage of my life, I'm not the problem now. Now, what is the problem is my parents will have friends over who drink too much. And they are the initiator of like, oh, Chris, still doing that politics show? And then they want to tell me about this thing that they watched, like recently on the news in the last week. And what do I have to say about that then there? And, I'm just like, not even really doing the show. And that doesn't stop it, Jeff. The worst part of all of it, Jeffrey, is that I don't even do the show right now. And that's still not enough of a deterrent. Still doing the podcast? No, I took a break. Hey, I saw this really interesting thing on TV the other day. Jesus, please stop. Like, God, no.
See, mine is more of a festive thing because my parents don't have anybody over ever. It's the only people we see other than ourselves are my aunt, uncle, and my cousins and their families. And then that's also a festive thing. We see them on Christmas Eve usually. But it's become kind of a laugh riot watching football and getting a couple and everybody and just yucking it up. Although my dad doesn't. You still do that blog? I mean, you mean my podcast? Yes. He still doesn't know it's a podcast. Anyways, I've been talking about it for like 8 years now. But yeah, no, mine is more festive than argumentative until my brother decides he needs to be the entertainer of the family. I say, you will watch this show. It's like, I'm not gonna have time to finish it, so I don't care, Chris. It's just, yeah, sure, the old man seems pretty great, and I've watched a couple episodes of it, so I went on the internet and spoiled myself to see what happened because I knew I'd never gonna finish it, and he got mad at that because he thought I was gonna ruin it for my parents, and my parents can't remember anything they watched yesterday for the most part. So it's like, Chris, it's not gonna matter to them. Trust me.
And then I don't know, like I have a little bit of a downbeat today, and the next week or so is going to be hectic. I have been playing this game called Chained Echoes that came out recently, getting really good reviews, and it's a hoot. It's really really good. So it's been really getting me into the Christmas spirit. It's a video game because I used to get video games at Christmas. You see?
Yes, I still do. I think. I may be getting a PlayStation 5. I don't know. So, well, we're light on news anyways. We are sponsored this week by HelloFresh. More from them later. But, it's a return and a debut and ratings talk. That's it. Bronson Reed showed back up on Raw this week. He is now going to be aligned with The Miz. He appeared in the more or less more than metaphorical than not climbing the ladder for a payday match between Loomis and The Miz. Oh, Chris, the caterwauling from people about Bronson Reed coming back to WWE was something because in the G1, I believe it was the G1 last year, this year, he got to beat Okada. And, he had a great match against Will Ospreay, and he should be working Japan and stuff and not, selling out for those evil corporate overlords at WWE. But, another puzzle piece of guys that Vince cut that Triple H has brought back. Any thoughts on Bronson Reed coming in or anything on this role?
I think Bronson Reed's really clever. He leveraged himself in a position where he got a win over Kazuchika Okada. Yeah, sure, it's in the G1. Doesn't matter. Got to win over Okada. That's like that's good. That made his stock really high. I think he's not an untalented guy. I don't think he's the most talented guy. I think he's a fine mid-card asset. It's not gonna.
Yeah, I understand people who are upset that that they want to see him have 4 or 5-star matches in New Japan or come to AEW and do like a Hoss fight with Wardlow or something like that. I get that, and WWE has more than earned its reputation. On the other hand,
like a one hoss fight with Wardlow is like a 1 month program. The guy's gonna sign like a 3-year deal, people.
And then he'll sit at home for the rest of the time, much like like Miro or something.
Yeah, get the FTR Miro treatments.
Yeah. But he's gonna be making much more money in WWE than anybody else will be willing to pay him. So get paid. We are corporatists here, or not corporatists, but capitalists here.
Yeah, we're certainly. I mean, like, look, these are independent contractors. All there is getting the money. That's it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird that people want this job to be super arty when, like, I feel sometimes like the expectations put on these wrestlers, it's like at a higher art level standard than like in my own industry of like working bar band musician. Like, I don't feel like we get groused at as much about like failing to meet art value as like these wrestlers do.
Well, it's like acting, and you get those actors who take every project that comes to them, like Michael Caine or Samuel L. Jackson, but there are people who always worry about, well, what is he doing in this movie? It's like he's making, like Robert De Niro's latter stage of his career is nothing but straight to DVD crappy action picks where he's like the third guy.
It's like Tribeca bankrupted him, right?
Yeah, pretty much, and I think he has to pay alimony too. So I think it's one of those things where he's taking every crappy type of straight to video type action film. He and Bruce Willis, and it's like, what about your legacy? It's like, dude. You'll remember the good stuff. Don't worry about it. Just let me make my bank doing this Romanian action film that nobody's gonna see. Like Nick Cage is making like hundreds of these dumb movies right now. Mostly because...
the difference I think with Cage is that Cage is really enjoying it. He really just enjoys doing stuff.
Well, that's Michael Caine too. Michael Caine would appear in anything in the 80s and 90s, and you're just like, what is he doing in this? It's like, dude, he just likes to work.
Yeah, he likes to work, and it lets him, he gets to be on a set. You get treated pretty nice as Michael Caine, the actor, on a set, and you hang out with your friends. You like your job. You don't necessarily, you're not like begging for time off. You like your job. It's the people who don't like their job who are like, sitting there and counting the vacation days that they get every year.
Yeah. And for those who are following or haven't followed the internet since AEW Dynamite was broadcast on Wednesday, we found out, actually Fightful has found out the identity of the second member of Mogul Affiliates with one Parker Boudreaux.
Oh, good. God, I'm so glad we got to the bottom of that. There's a lot of intrigue. Who is it?
It is a trainee by the name of Grandin Getzman. He was
Grandin Getzman.
Really? Are you gonna do this to me? I'm just trying to get through the news, Chris.
No, it's fine. No, I didn't have that on my bingo sheet.
Drafted in the second round of the 2011 Major League Baseball draft for the Tampa Bay Rays, I believe it was. He's been a trainee of Jay Lethal and been training with Matt Sydal. He has far too many tattoos for me to read them all, but
on his head.
So, yeah, but let me put it this way, Chris. I am kind of here for a kind of greenish Hoss team to fill that Road Warriors vibe, and if Parker Boudreaux and Grandin Getzman can do it, I'm here for it.
I loved Chronic. Yeah. Grandin
Chronic. Those were veterans, though. By the time Chronic came around, those two had been in wrestling, I think, each 10 years.
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay, fine. And they're a team with the young legend, Swerve Strickland. Man, I thought this was 3 different people before I realized it's nobody I knew. Like I thought it was what's his name?
Dabba-Kato. I definitely thought it was Dabba-Kato. It's not.
Did you? Okay, I thought it might be the former Connor from the Ascension because he's working in TNA now, or not TNA, Impact. I thought it was.
Like Connor from the Ascension, like sneaky close to 40 at this point?
No, that's Rick Victor. Rick Victor was the older one of that group. I think he is actually over 40. Who's the big guy that used to be with Jake? I always forget his name.
Oh,
No One Will Survive.
Lance Archer.
Lance Archer. I thought it was Archer at first. Instead, we're gonna get this guy who's.
Yeah, why didn't Bronson Reed go to AEW? Look at Lance Archer. There's your answer.
Yeah, that actually, you know what? That's not the worst point in the world, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like, yeah, he'd be able to work Japan, he'd be able to work his indies, but he wouldn't be making that sweet WWE lucre that everybody wants.
And like, there's just simply no guarantee that there's any long-term narrative focus in AEW for these mid-card guys than there is in WWE. It's a true push right now. Neither of these companies have narrative discipline like that.
Yeah, I mean, where are you going to go to where you know they're going to take care of you and you're going to be able to protect your character? There's no guarantee in either place, really. I mean, it's not like Bronson Reed's coming in to join the Bloodline, so which is really the only real story.
No, right. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, in both these companies, there are protected storylines for sure. Like, you know, what Roman wants, Roman can get, that sort of thing, and like what the executive vice presidents of AEW want, they can get.
Yeah,
but outside of the perimeter of influence, the island of relevancy in both of these companies, you really are kind of, you know, left to your own tender devices. You might be Ricochet getting pushed against Gunther one week and then, you know, getting beaten badly the following week. You might be Elias, you might be Lance Archer, you might be Miro. There's a real mid-card hell in both of these.
You are not on the Twitter anymore, so you did not see the hubbub
I'm not?
over Miro this week.
No, what happened with Miro?
What's her name? I'm trying to think of her WWE. Well, basically the wife's been talking.
Honor.
And saying that, yes, Miro or Rusev Day will once again be in WWE someday because everybody comes back. And I guess he and Dave have been sniping at each other on Twitter because of something that happened behind the scenes or something to that effect. There's been some controversy as to why he hasn't been back, and has he been vetoing storylines because he doesn't like the ending and whatnot. And yeah, it's not that AEW is in disrepair, but not everybody's as happy to be there as one might think.
No, and that's, you know, that's troubling to hear, because I was firmly under the opinion, based on the news and the coverage over the last, you know, several months here, that the departure of CM Punk was going to essentially be a panacea that was going to bring calm and tranquility to the locker room. And I'm just starting to think that maybe there are other problem elements there beyond Phil Brooks.
Yeah. Viewership was up across the board. AEW, 957,000 viewers this week. Raw, 1.7 million, the biggest audience since October 17th. NXT, 705,000 viewers. SmackDown, 2.191 million viewers. In Rampage, 464,000 viewers. Booking better matches for Rampage seems to have helped it quite a lot. So I don't know. This winter break's doing pretty well. I mean, look, the demos are a little bit lower, but they're also facing things like bowl games and whatnot. I get it, but at least for the winter break, the number of viewers tuning into wrestling's a little bit higher.
Right, and there have been some doom and gloom narratives recently about the ratings, and I wouldn't say they're all unjustified. The one thing that I just have been holding back on before I really have a strongly held opinion one way or another about trajectory is, let's see what Mania season holds for these companies.
Yeah.
How are these ratings when we get out of football and we get back into what is the earnest Mania season? Part of me goes, you know, for what is WWE's historic silly season, no, the TV's drifting in terms of quality back to the mean, but the ratings are actually fairly decent. And I would even say this silly season's television is far more watchable than like the silly season of like the last 4 years for sure.
Well, for WWE, for that, SmackDown has really been head and shoulders carrying this company in many, many ways, in terms of having the Bloodline story, which is the best silly season story they've had in decades, possibly, leading to the Rumble and the road to WrestleMania. But also, you know, you have, you know, Imperium, Legado del
best silly season
Fantasmo,
story
Ricochet.
they've
You
had
have
since
wrestlers.
Danielson. It's the best silly season story they've had since Danielson.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I would say so. But yeah, so that's not decades necessarily, but
No, but like that's like 10 years. And like, I mean, unlike the Danielson thing, which was more of an organic crowd movement that they had to sort of spin into a story, and became really compelling television. This is a story that frankly they force fed us, and it crossed the line twice to like being good. So it's I actually think it's almost more of a feather in their cap in this sense. That like they took something that was like on the margins and bent it back into the good realm in a substantive way.
that's it for the news segment. Chris, tell us about HelloFresh.
Oh, Jeff. God, there's a lot on my mind right now.
Mm-hmm.
Got a big move coming up here.
Yeah.
And during those times when I am lifting boxes and then bringing them down the stairs and then thinking about what else needs to go into a box and then boxing that stuff and lifting it, oh, my back gets sore. And I go, at the end of these days, Jeffrey, I go, what could I do for food? How will I eat? I ask myself. In the morning, alone at night, after I turn off the light and it's all dark in the room. And then I remember that there's HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, I could be getting farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to my doorstep. I could skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that is why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. It's the most festive time of the year. And HelloFresh is here to help make the most of every moment. From holiday hosting to dinners during busy weeknights, you can count on HelloFresh to deliver fresh ingredients and seasonal recipes. 'Tis the season for saving money wherever we can. Blah, blah, blah. I lost it. HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout. Yeah, 25. No. Yes. Less. Yes. So you can use those savings for holiday gifts or treat yourself. HelloFresh can help you eat better amid all of the holiday temptations. Their meals have 20% fewer calories than takeout, so you can still have full flavor. No lights, just without the guilt. One time, Jeff and I had HelloFresh. Hence, the nostalgic open to this segment. I was thinking in the darkness the other night, because I don't pay my power bill anymore. I'm moving in a couple weeks. So I'm just trying to save everywhere I can. In the darkness, I was thinking fondly of the lighted days when I was eating HelloFresh with my cats. We were happy. It's a good time. I like eating HelloFresh. I cook HelloFresh alongside my cats, not with my cats. That would be weird. They don't have cat-based recipes. So if you're interested in HelloFresh, go to HelloFresh.com/VOW18 and use the code VOW18 for 18 free meals plus free shipping. That is HelloFresh.com/VOW18. Use code VOW18 for 18 free meals plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kits.
Thank you, HelloFresh. And now for the lazy river of wrestling criticism, whatever we watch, whatever we're thinking about, anything that pertains to the world of professional wrestling, well, we can talk about it right here. And Chris, I'm calling a bit of an audible. We're going to have 2 sections to the lazy river. We're going to have this week's wrestling. And then because we just don't plan these things, let's face it, we can have any awards / predictions for 2023 in the second half of the lazy river. Kind of an extended thing for people's holiday listening, should they want them. So how does that sound to you? Good, bad, ugly?
No, it sounds good. I mean,
Okay, cool.
yeah, you got me. You Johnny on the spotted me, anyways. But you can't throw me off either. I'm filled with holiday spirit.
You're boozing it up. Gotcha.
I'm starting to feel it, and it's like, why not? Let's let it flow on the microphone. What's the worst that could happen?
I am going to put over, because I really enjoyed it. I know that we disagree a little bit here.
But we will.
But the main event of AEW Dynamite, that Shida Jamie Hayter match, and let's face it, it was a pretty good week for both companies in women's wrestling in some way. Because I thought the Becky and Aunt Pam match on Raw was pretty damn good too, and it was a joy to see both of them in the ring for the first time in 3 years. But Shida and Hayter might be my favorite AEW women's match ever, because it just got back to basics of wrestling for me. Kick, punch, the occasional slam and suplex, a little bit of hate in there, and just trying to wear down the opponent to get the 3, as opposed to fancy reversal choreography, set pieces that, if you don't hit it correctly, everything starts to fall apart. I thought this was just a great basic wrestling match where both women beat the crap out of each other, and I enjoyed, and I love both these women. So I other than maybe Britt and Thunder Rosa in the was it the Anything Goes match or whatever the heck it was, where they had the thumbtacks and things like that, this might be my favorite AEW women's match.
So in the case of both of these, I think I don't actually blame the work on either of these for not holding my interest. It's the narrative work around these matches. And we've talked about this a lot before, where, like, if there's not a real strong investment in the story, two people are going to have a great match, Chris, is not booking. That's not storytelling. And so, I mean, look, I've been up on Shida. I've been very pro Shida on this show. I know she's a good worker. They don't tell good stories with her. She's like, ever since she kind of did the slight kind of character rework or whatever, they just stopped doing narrative with her.
Agreed.
And I like Jamie Hayter. I think she's really good. But we need to tell a story with her. What is motivating her title reign?
Yeah, right now her story is on pause until we decide when we're going to do the breakup with her and Britt.
Right. And that's ridiculous. She's the champion. There needs to be a story for her on day one. I
agree.
Yeah, this kind of circles back to what we were talking about, a week or so ago with MJF and the Rosebud moment. There needs to be something motivating Jamie Hayter here. And so that was my issue with this match and why I didn't give it more of a sniff. And I think the other thing is it was also led in by a horrible segment with Rick Ross and Keith Lee and Swerve. But the same thing with on Raw with Bayley and Becky Lynch. This new Bayley against kind of a refreshed Becky. This match theoretically should have some intrigue, except the damage control has been handled atrociously for months now.
Yes.
And this is a faction that theoretically anyone who's got any taste in wrestling should be on board with when we were talking about Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, and Bayley. But because of the presentation of damage control, turning Io Shirai into Io, everyone got kind of nerfed as characters, and the sum is definitely less than the individual parts.
They just didn't establish the faction as something powerful when they said, "Oh, we're coming in to take over." Blah 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 blah. It's like they need to run through the entire division and take all the titles. And then it gets to the point of the War Games where, okay, here's where we're going to handle this crew.
And the element of foregone conclusion really hurts the intrigue for a match.
Yes.
I did not think that Bayley was going to beat Becky. And I guess I would say I thought there was more of a chance Bayley was going to beat Becky than I thought there was a chance that Shida was going to beat Jamie Hayter.
And Bayley beat Becky.
Oh my, dude, I'm getting my wires crossed. Whatever. Point being,
but I get it. I mean, she had help. Okay, it was a screwball finish, and you kind of thought the same thing in Shida and Hayter, because it's like, okay, Shida's been in this company for 3 years and doesn't know to bring backup. for Rebel and Britt Baker. You know,
I mean, like there's that, and I mean, even with like Bayley beating Becky, right? Like the power level on Bayley is so low right now that you know that she can't beat Becky clean.
Yeah.
Like if Bayley was going to win that, she was going to have to win it through the heel banana peel finish.
Yeah, and that. I mean, that was a problem on all the shows this week, was the banana peels just everywhere in terms of heels winning, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, no, I agree with that. But I did want to give that a shout out. I thought, man, I was watching that. I was like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. And then they just start smacking the hell out of each other. I'm like, yeah, I'm here for this. I'm cool with it. Your turn, sir.
Okay. Let's do Rick Ross and Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland and
the FCC.
we already talked about the debut of this exciting new faction, Chronic 2000, and I'm so excited, dude. And then you have Rick Ross out here who. Scott, like this segment sucked.
Boy, was this the law of diminishing returns in terms of the gap between that first time he was on and this time, night and day.
Night and day. I mean, right? Like the first time, it was intrigue. You're like, oh, okay, more Rick Ross. This time, it's like he didn't know what he was even doing, so he just came out there and said like generic stage banter stuff that he says when he's on stage, like, I'm here not to make history. Like you can imagine this guy at nightclubs, like when he is playing a show or whatever, saying that like in any stage, like in like Paducah, or Indianapolis, like we're here tonight to make history, Indianapolis, like just these like hollow platitudes. And the dynamic between Keith Lee and Rick Ross was ridiculous. So okay, initially, like, because remember, Lee is like, like he's like Beast from the X-Men, right? Like big guy, reads a lot of books, has like large words like indubitably that he says. So like initially Ross calls him out there and he's like, I'm going to be the mediator between you two guys. I can understand why Lee would believe that. But after the first guy jumps Keith Lee, he should be looking at Rick Ross real askance. If for no other reason other than like Ross is not only not bothered by this, clearly audibly cheering this on into the microphone. Like, and Lee doesn't seem mad at Rick Ross. He doesn't seem to be processing what Rick Ross did as a setup.
He's not watching him walk behind him.
Yes. Like, and it was bizarre. The bizarre blocking to have Ross walk behind him and have Ross not really do anything.
You know what I thought when I watched this segment was that, Hey, Rick, we're going to have a dress rehearsal here. And Rick said, nope, doing it on the fly. I want to be fresh. I want to be in the moment.
Yeah, I could totally see this guy like, not, I don't do
big timing it saying I don't do rehearsals.
I don't do rehearsals. Yeah. I can't do that. No, my schedule is busy. Like, and he's like sitting around eating lunch or whatever.
Yeah, he's eating things from Wingstop or whatever he does commercials for. Yeah, it's just felt like Rick's gonna do what Rick's gonna do, and I know it. I got the feel. I work in front of live crowds all the time. Don't worry about me.
And then, like, the funniest thing was Ross at the end of it, after we announced this new faction, the NWO, this was not, by the way, but after we announced this new faction, Ross is standing there with the hoodie and doesn't put it on, which is like the ultimate big leaguing of the faction. Like, if you're gonna hold the hoodie, you have to put it on, you jerk. Take off your jacket, put on the hoodie.
It shows you're aligned and it helps push the merch. What are you doing?
Right. Like that is the whole point of the business. No, like that is the piece of business you were trying to do there. You need this guy to put on the freaking shirt. You're trying to sell those. It matters. These are like, to me, fairly obvious details.
Yeah, they're little details that matter.
They're little details that matter, but like this isn't even my business. It's just you think about like what are all these steps supposed to be in service towards? When you announce a new faction, the goal is to sell T-shirts, people. Which you start a new angle, ultimately to move merch.
Yes.
And so you want that like big reveal of these dudes out in this T-shirt. You want like that first reveal of the T-shirt to be really badass. And so
and then everybody's going to run to the merch stand and want to buy one of these shirts. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. And to your point, when you have a really good like heel faction reveal, immediately people are like, oh man, that, whatever segment, the aces and eights.
No. I'll give you an example of one where I almost bought merch at my advanced age because I thought it was cool. When CM Punk joined the Nexus, and he had the yellow version of his own shirts and stuff like that. I thought those were kind of cool, and so I almost bought one.
When the Shield kind of dropped.
When the Shield,
yeah,
the NWO, of course, the most famous one. Yeah.
I know, absolutely. I mean, like the NWO, I think it's like
eight. I can't believe you.
Come on now, like what a class. Don't you fade aces and eights, sir. I'm
the
not.
The core. That was a hell of a group.
Core's pretty good. Gotta give it up for the core.
Well, speaking of small details, that kind of leads into mine next one. Where look, you guys know I do love me some unrepentant stupidity. I do. I like comedy in wrestling. I like funny things in wrestling. I just don't want them mixed with my main event stuff. And there were two segments on Dynamite that just the tonal shifts drove me a little bit nuts. One was the 6-man series between the Elite and the Death Triangle, because I love the concept of two teams that become rivals and bitter rivals, and it keeps escalating until we finally have to, until it comes to a head. But the cutesiness of the Christmas spots within this just drove me nuts. The fake Christmas tree, Brandon Cutler dressed as an elf, and him and Alex Abrahantes doing spots. I'm like, and I just thought, my inner Lance Storm came out, and I go, well, what if they had actually taken this seriously? They got the NBA music, it's great, but what if the Death Triangle had, really decided to be evil here, and because it's no DQ, we're going to pull out all the stops to end the series right here. And the Elite desperately trying to hang on, desperately trying to do whatever they can to get this series to yet another match type of thing. And the drama and the emotion that would have spurned on here, instead of, we're running everybody into a fake Christmas tree. Isn't that funny? Ha, ha, ha. It almost feels like a self-aware, ironic parody of a 7-match series.
No, it's been that, right? Like ever since they did the, self-aware parody of Paul Pierce last week, limping back to the ring and not actually turning that into like a real injury angle. I'm with you. This, even with me not necessarily loving all the players in this, or, like these are not like my peak interests, like characters or whatever. A Death Triangle that is severely motivated by evil intentions to declare Sherman-like total war on the Elite, and the Elite realizing, we're not only fighting to avoid elimination here, we're actually fighting for our lives in this match.
Right.
That would have been dope.
Yeah.
Like that would have been so, and honestly, it would have been even better in the wake of these first 4 matches being yuck matches, to actually have this switch into, in match 5, 6, and 7, serious blood intensity would be so much more intriguing than the wacky and zany comedic stylings of Kenny Omega and his pals with a Z.
Yeah, and I was talking to you about this before the show too. The same thing happened with me with the Bryan Danielson angle. I loved the fire of the MJF promo backstage. I loved the fire of Danielson when he came out and was talking about Regal. I didn't even mind that he was talking about Regal in the ring, even though I think he should be gone and forgotten and never spoken of again. But you have narrative continuity, at least. I can respect that. And it was all building up, and here comes Ethan Page and Stokely. And I'm like, good. Here we go. We're going to have intense, born again, a little bit hard Ethan Page tearing down Danielson. And then it just, the entire thing just took a tonal shift where I went, how did that happen? And it becomes popping each other and popping the announcers. Look, I laughed when Stokely said, "You raggedy bitch." I did. It was funny. It was, but at the same time, it was like, well, I was kind of hoping, that here Ethan Page, one of the more effective heels on the AEW roster, when he says, you're a vegetable or whatever. I thought he was going to get into the CTE stuff, which, a couple people have gotten squeamish about, but I was like, okay, that would be heel heat at least here. But instead it became the whole, I'm not going to fight you here because of my pants. I'm going to go and wait next week or whatever. And I was just like, oh, what a lost opportunity to me. At least it was that segment after Danielson sets it up with this intense, angry type of promo type thing. And then it just becomes, laugh a minute shtick again.
Yeah, look, I have really checked out on this Stokely character. I am aware Stokely is funny. He is funny. I think he's very funny. I love, like, when he did stand up and he was talking about leaving NXT or whatever. Like, oh God, he's just funny. Would love to hear him do radio, him as a guest on any program, instant, like, click on, all right, yeah, let's hear what Stokely's talking about. I don't want this character to be Sanjay Dutt. We have Sanjay Dutt. And to Dutt's credit, kind of thought it was funny with the Acclaim stuff this week.
The Acclaim stuff was great, I thought.
So we got that covered. What I need out of Stokely and Ethan Page are, like, ultimate bastards. I want these guys, like MJF, unfortunately the crowd, occasionally loves him or whatever. I want Stokely and Ethan to be like life's wet blanket.
Yes.
These guys always suck the fun out of the room, and they love to do it. Nothing brings them more joy than seeing baby faces and heels alike miserable at their presence. And nothing brings them the greatest joy than immiserating the audience. The audience is miserable every time they have to endure Stokely and Ethan, and that brings them great glee. I don't want humor. I don't want them trying to pop anyone. We don't need, like, a memorable haha tee line like Raggedy or whatever. Like, and he's been trying to pepper one of those in every week. I need menace out of these guys.
Your turn, sir.
Man, my turn. I'm coming off of this. All right. Outside of that, on AEW, was there anything that I really felt like was worth commenting on? No, I think we basically hit it.
I have another AEW.
No, I'll give you one more. I think they don't really know what they're doing with either Hook or Jack Perry, but putting them in a tag team has bought them time to figure it out.
Yeah, I liked the beatdown of Perry with Big Bill, even though they were trying to get another joke out of that a little bit. But I liked, power slamming him into a dumpster. That was fine. I liked that. And I also just to bring that in again, it looks like they're also buying a little bit of time, but they've actually did a little bit of story on the follow up with the Action Andretti thing because the fireball spoke to my territory leanings, Chris.
Okay, but like Andretti stinks on the microphone.
Yeah, he's Brad Armstrong. I mean, he's who else? Brian Adias, those types of baby faces. He hasn't found a personality yet. I'm kind of okay, but he at least tried. I mean, he's better than either of the Martin brothers on the mic right now. I mean, it was a standard. Hey, I'm happy to be here type.
I don't know who we're fading there. Because no,
I don't know either.
Yeah, no, I think Andretti's a real dud on the microphone. He
is. But
I said last week he's a perfectly cromulent wrestler, and I stand by that. Like, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with his ability to work, I guess. But
okay,
like,
I am defending him because there's nowhere for him to do promos wherever he's worked. He's worked indie shows where it's just, you go in there, you have good matches.
I'm not saying that he's had opportunities and he's duffed them and he'll never be anything more than he is. What I'm saying is he is what he is right now. It's not the person who's had 2 years worth of lessons and they still suck. And clearly it's like you had access to 24 months of lessons. Like this is a guy who just needs the lessons still.
Okay, fair enough.
He's not there, and he's gotten it. It's aspirational in the same way that like I have been kind of constantly haranguing the Jade Cargill push as this is a person you're pushing aspirationally, but it's not entirely clear that they are ready for the aspirational hopes and dreams that are being attached to them.
Yeah.
So those are my items. Your turn, sir.
Oh, it's okay. Well, I mean, the last thing we have is NXT, I think, until we get into our year-end stuff. Boy, I'm gonna tell you something. I look, I like Grayson Waller. I like Braun Breaker. The whole repeat of the Bret Hart Goldberg angle. Did I read too much into it by thinking that Shawn Michaels and company are kind of throwing a little shade at Bret here?
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that as like throwing.
It might be an homage, or it might be, just to stick it to Bret. I don't know which one it is.
Well, I mean, part of it though is like also Braun Breaker has like a real Goldberg thing. So like, I think the other lens of this is that like Breaker wants more Goldberg-like spots.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just saying there's a contra argument that's at least somewhat persuasive.
Yes.
And yeah. Like that's enough for me to go like, well, I can't do would Shawn Michaels ever be so petty as to carry out a grudge for years? No, Jeff, no.
No, I enjoyed the women's I enjoyed the women's triple threat tag. I thought Axiom and Carmelo had a heck of a match. And then,
boy, did they. Axiom, A-Kid/Axiom, they're never gonna do more, like, he's never gonna be like beyond Ricochet or whatever, but like he's one.
His entrance is stupid.
His entrance is stupid. I know they're never gonna present him right.
Right.
I find it to be a much more interesting match than Ricochet. I think he's quite good.
Yeah.
He just, there's a lot of different elements to his match. They'll never get him. They'll never know how to present him the right way. But I really think very highly of Axiom, and ditto with Carmelo Hayes. But I feel like Carmelo Hayes is more obvious. I just kind of like wanted to linger on Axiom because we watched him in NXT UK and stuff, and like A-Kid's really good. He's a very, very good wrestler.
Then, I'm sorry, I watched that Kiana James segment at the bar, and all I could think of, here's where they start disrobing and having sex. Oh,
I mean,
it was so porntastic. But I also want to give Briggs and I was gonna say Briggs and Jensen, but it's Briggs and what's his partner's name?
No, it is Briggs and Jensen.
It is Briggs and Jensen. I thought it was Jensen Briggs.
No. Here's why you're confused. One is BJ and the other is JB.
Yes. Okay. That's actually true. I actually really enjoyed that match with the New Day quite a bit, and the New Day, God bless them.
Briggs with the moonsault. Come on now.
Yeah. And that move where they lifted where he lifted Woods into the ropes on the outside of the ring and then just murder death him with a clothesline. I was kind of here for that move too. I look, they're not great yet, but there's something there with these two.
Well, here's the thing too with Jensen. Jensen's young. Like Briggs is older or whatever. Like he's the older of the two, but like Jensen, I want to say is under 25 or something.
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah,
because he was in the system at 19, I think. He is
right. So for a guy who's still very actually truly developing still, I see a lot of promise with him. He's look, is the character goofy? Yes. Is he doing the character well? Yeah, he's actually not bad at the character. It's a shit character. That's not his fault.
And Katana Chance and Caden Carter continue to improve as a team. In that triple threat,
right? And Canizaro's one that we thought for a long time had basically kind of hit a ceiling, and it's really interesting that she hasn't, in fact, found ways to continue to improve.
Yeah, now that match did suffer a bit from the set piece mentality because of the triple threat thing, but look, Toxic Attraction, solid heel stuff. They got Ivy and
Tatum Paxley.
Was it Tatum Paxley or was it Faraz? Okay, I think you're right. Tatum Paxley.
Oh yeah, no, Tatum.
They got them through that. They got them through that match pretty well, I thought, and it worked mostly. It wasn't great, but it worked. So I thought everything was solid, but unspectacular on NXT this week.
Yeah, I mean, again, every week I've said this before, but every week where Diamond Mine is not like a focus in terms of the Creed brothers is, to me, kind of a bad week. Same with Damon Kemp. These are
that dude should be more of a focus on this show every week because he's fantastic.
Yeah, like they've got guys who can be strong personalities. I mean, frankly, I think Kemp is a much more interesting foil for Braun Breaker than Grayson Waller is. I think Kemp is as athletic as Breaker and he's such a good talker. Like him being like a huge dick to Breaker and being like, I'm the better athlete. You thought Apollo was better. I want Kemp to beat Apollo and really kind of set himself up as also beating Apollo like Rocky or whatever. Kemp sets himself up really as the formidable menace to Braun Breaker. He feels more credible than Waller, but I mean I think that's the whole point too. I don't. Waller was never destined to win this title. And he wouldn't even necessarily be a very interesting champion, though he's improved in the ring. I think they might get through this match relatively quickly and get him up to the main roster here in early 23.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't put so much into his brother, I think that's the thing that's actually hurting him down there is we want your brother to be the star. And it's like, dude, you got something here with him. Go with it.
Yeah. I mean, and not for nothing, the brothers can have different personalities. That actually is usually the more interesting way of doing things.
Yeah. But they always, they'll look at two guys and go, well, that's the guy we want to be a star, and that's the guy we want to use to make him the star.
Right. I know. There's just a very super biopic way of doing storytelling.
He's the marketable one. He's the not marketable one. It's like, no, why can't you figure this out? You haven't been able to figure this out since 86, 87, for God's sakes, that, hey, teams actually work. Brothers groups actually work. People actually. And
the brothers being different, like Rick and Scott Steiner.
Yes,
they didn't have a ton of personality, but Rick was clearly different than Scott. And there was when Rick was having a singles match, the crowd had a completely different conditioned reaction to the guy.
Yeah, no, definitely. Matt and Jeff Hardy, kind of the same way. But it's just, yes.
This holiday season, Peloton's got a gift for you. Get up to $400 off Peloton Bike, Bike Plus, or Tread packages. Choose the package that's right for you with accessories like our cycling shoes, a heart rate band, non-slip grip dumbbells, and more. Peloton, fitness that stays with you. This limited time offer ends December 25th. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more. All access membership separate. Offer ends December 25th, 2022. Excludes Bike, Bike Plus, and Tread Basics. See additional terms at onepeloton.com.
Get ready, Ohio. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is coming to the Buckeye State. And to kick things off, you can get started with $100 in free bets as an early sign-up bonus. Plus, when you sign up today with promo code OhioSB, you'll be all set for when FanDuel goes live in Ohio. Then you can bet on all your favorite teams and all your favorite sports with $100 in free bets. Just download FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Ohio, this is your chance to get in on the action. Join today with promo code OhioSB. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Ohio. Bonus issued in non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after FanDuel accepts its first real money sports wager in Ohio on 1/1/23. Unique user identity verification required. Offer ends on the go-live date. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
So that is the end of the lazy river for this week's wrestling. And now we got to get into, I guess, superlatives or predictions. I think what we should do, Chris, is talk about things we liked, maybe didn't like in the year that was of wrestling, and then go into predictions, and we'll go out on a limb and make some dumb predictions that mostly won't come true, but if we do, people will let us have a victory lap. How about that?
Yeah, they'll let us.
Maybe. Look, my feud of the year, matches of the year, etc., are all tied into FTR and the Briscoes. These guys, and look, I know there are people in the Voices of Wrestling hemisphere who don't like Dax because he's a little online, a little bit too much with his feels. I get it. I see you all calling him FTR bald. and being snarky and stuff like that. But Dax Harwood had a hell of a year. The Briscoes had a hell of a year, and FTR and the Briscoes had a hell of a year. Starting with the WrestleMania weekend match, which was just sublime in terms of what tag team wrestling is. Those two had a nice, they had promos building up to it, and then they came out and they had a heated match, throwing themselves at each other all throughout. Hottest match of the year up until that point. They go and they have the 2 out of 3 falls match. I liked it. I didn't love it as much as other people, but it was, each match, each fall had a different story, and I knew what they were doing, and it was great. And then the double dog collar match, dude, that was everything I want in professional wrestling. Hate, violence, blood. Two teams just trying to kill each other, for my entertainment. I absolutely love it. And look, kudos to both. Hopefully Tony Khan can get whoever at WBD that didn't want the Briscoes on TV to let them on TV and make, give them the Glengarry leads, give them the money. Because I'll tell you something, they don't have enough people who can talk up at AEW, and the Briscoes are always must see when they're on the microphone.
All right. What's the topic again?
Whatever you want to go into, Chris. Such superlatives that you like: wrestler of the year, tag team of the year, feud of the year, match of the year, whatever you want to talk about.
I guess I'll go with I'll do MVPs for the two different companies. So for AEW, I would say my MVP of the year, which I'm sort of defining as like who's the most valuable wrestler to the company in terms of overall utility. Not necessarily had the best matches of the year or anything like that, just like who has clearly established themselves to be sort of like an important anchor, where if like they were gone tomorrow or whatever, or if they had been gone tomorrow during the run of the year here, it would have really damaged the company. I think for AEW, indisputably, it is Jon Moxley.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Look, they needed a stabilizing force from a lot of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. I'm not one who's, oh man,
it's weird because like between MJF going on a sabbatical for a while and then right. CM Punk getting fired, and both of whom I find far more valuable and far more star power than Moxley. Moxley just being there when both those things went down tends to make him the MVP, I guess.
90% of life is being there.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, look, being at the gig on time is one of the small but most big things that matters in this business. You gotta make your sound checks. When MJF was flaky, Moxley was there. When CM Punk, basically tensions with Punk and others in the company came to an absolute head here, and Punk was no longer there.
Baked goods and seltzer and closed on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but like, even if he hadn't done that, here's the thing: the injury was always there, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that we forget, is that like, regardless of the press conference, they would have been in more or less the same position in terms of, yes, it would have been more graceful, but they still would have needed Moxley. He just is the anchor for this company. He is a strong promo. It's not always home runs, but like when Moxley's on, he's really good. I think that, like, look, it was a very strong year for him. Though I'm with you, I think both MJF and CM Punk bring in their own different ways more star power and more cachet to the company. I think that Moxley is just stable. You can trust him, and they're at a point where you could flip him heel if you wanted to, if you really needed to, and so that you can really kind of get butter both sides of the bread if you need to. On the WWE side, for me, my MVP, initially I was going to go Roman, but I have to stop and say, no, it is Sami Zayn.
Yes.
It is Sami Zayn. That Sami Zayn revitalized the bloodline. Now, Roman has done some fantastic character work this year, and Roman has done a fantastic job finding some personality with this tribal chief character that was painfully absent from the first year and a half of this crap. It was just not there. It was, I'm the tribal chief, acknowledge me. Like it's not a character, that's just a catchphrase. Like, this Roman now has like clear personality qualities about him. Arrogance, ego, and an arrogance that blinds him from being able to see the situation clearly. Like, he has actual flaws as a character. The whole thing has a structure, but that's all really because of the injection of Sami Zayn into this, and Zayn taking really nothing and finding a way to, massage up nothing to, okay, a little bit of like, haha, like Damian Sandow doing mimicking of the Miz outside the ring, to this is now a serious, I mean, Sami Zayn is now a serious and important character on the show every week. The Bloodline segments really wouldn't work without him. And that means that essentially Sami Zayn is carrying the main event angle.
I think you also forgot the first half of the year a little bit, where Sami Zayn was asked to carry this Johnny Knoxville storyline.
That's right.
And that match, I have that match written down as one of my 5 favorite matches this year. It's like, it's low. It's number 5 on that list, but that match over delivered, and he saved that match with knowing how to get a prop, a prop that had broken to go again. It was either him or Knox. I can't remember which one it was at this point, but it was like that match went wrong with some of the props, and they saved that thing. And he was asked to carry a feud with a celebrity that didn't seem that interesting, and then it turned out to be absolutely golden on the night of the event. I mean, that match, for a comedy match, that thing was fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, and so when I think about like most valuable, a lot of it too is also like overperforming what you were tasked with doing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not necessarily where you like plan to be the champion. Like, obviously Roman's the most valuable person, but who really
gave a spark to something?
Yeah, who maximized the value?
I will give an honorable mention in WWE to Gunther. Because him and now the finally completely reformed Imperium being on that SmackDown roster just brought everything to a new level, with a lot of guys that were flailing. You think about the Brawling Brutes and Sheamus. You think about, Ricochet a little bit. You think about all these guys that were kind of like doing nothing on this roster because everybody was kind of having to deal with the bloodline and nothing wanted to be overshadowed. Gunther and coming up there and just being the machine that he is, and the intense presence and the hard hitting matches that he has, like that match at Clash at the Castle between him and Sheamus is my WWE match of the year.
Yeah, my other honorable mention would be Sheamus.
Sheamus been sneaky solid this year.
No, yeah, right. Like you have to really give it up for him too. I think the Brawling Brutes working as a gimmick is, because I think Sheamus refused to let it die. You know what I mean? Like Sheamus has just not been phoning it in this year. Not that he normally does or whatever. He stands out as a guy who's really overperforming. But like Gunther is a really great choice too. Who would be your honorable mention in AEW?
MJF is up there. I'd actually, you know what? It's weird because much like the Glue people, it's kind of underrated because we criticize her so much, but Britt Baker has really kept that women's division afloat this year in many, many ways. I think. I mean, I'd have to. I mean, I wasn't really thinking about this at all because it's been kind of a poor year for women's divisions in terms of care and concern. I mean, it was okay in WWE because you had Bianca and the ascent of Bianca, but like the amount of talent that both divisions in both companies have that have been utterly put on the back burner or forgotten about is almost disheartening when you think about between, Sasha leaving, the Damage Control story being bad, Mako Satomura kind of being brought in and then forgotten, B. Priestley even being brought in and then forgotten, Saray and whatever the hell they did with her. And then over on AEW, just debut after debut after debut after debut that just fell flat because they just couldn't be bothered to do anything other than backstage segments where with Britt and Rebel just verbally burying them and they couldn't get out from under it. I'm also trying to waste time here because I'm trying to think of who would be an underrated. There's a case to be made that QT Marshall might be an undervalued MVP. I mean, he's not a high-ranking guy in there, but in terms of a glue guy from show to show, who you build a small mid-card feud with, and you just beat him. I really like what he brings to the table. Who do you have as it, if I can ask?
Okay, so for the honorable mention, I got singles Dax Harwood.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, that's who I had originally too. I mean,
yeah. No, I know if you get FTR though as the MVP, it's like a little bit like it's
yeah.
Weird. Like, well, but also Dax sells singles. Whereas I think. Look, I think the match with the Briscoes is really good. It's just the only reason I don't weight it heavier, which we talked about on the previous episode.
Because it's in ROH.
Yeah, because it's in Timbuktu, right? Yeah, I can't see it anywhere.
But Dax on AEW has been fantastic this year.
Right. And when they needed an extended match that was good, that had no stakes or whatever, Dax was always able to deliver that for them. And they have needed that multiple times. The problem, the thing with the Bucks, like, it's sort of like, if you like the Bucks, you like the Bucks, and if you don't like the Bucks, they are the Bucks. Like they have a very specific sort of match, and like in terms of like they do that same match. It's not like, I would never say that they underperform the match. It's just that, like, it's hard for them to sort of like out kick or whatever because of that.
Here's a question that just came up in my mind because I was thinking about, are we giving Chris Jericho short shrift as a under the radar MVP?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a fair question. Yes and no. It's sort of like, without having to without going through all the TikTok of him like behind the scenes too, right? Like,
right.
When you would think about behind the scenes Jericho, he's made himself valuable, but you can make yourself valuable in ways that are not necessarily laudable.
Right.
And I feel like Jericho kind of sits in that realm for me backstage. On screen, he has had many good matches, but then I have to like weight that against, it's tough because it's like, how do you use valuable? Jericho has made himself have tremendous amount of weight on this episode because the amount of, on the show, because of the amount of time that he gets. And he has turned in some good matches along the way because that. Bandito comes to mind. But for every Bandito match, I think there is the equally questionable, like as we discussed last week, I'm not going to revisit it now, Action Andretti sort of sequence or whatever. Something that's a little bit like, oh, I mean, there's two ways of looking at this. He did a good thing here, or he didn't do such a great thing here. And I don't know how to weight that in terms of value. He's certainly, in the wake of Phil Brooks's decreased relevancy in the company, has found a way to make himself more valuable, though. I would never dispute that.
Yeah, yeah, it's been weird.
It's hard. I know that's a long answer, but it's like hard to. It's
no, but I'm in the same boat because I find a lot of Jericho's creative choices baffling at times, and I don't like them necessarily because they play far too much into his WWE.
Like the falling on the pillows that was this year, right?
No, that was
but like he had like another Goofy Shoes bump at some point earlier this year.
He might have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there was something like.
This was the year he tapped out on top of the cage.
That's right.
Or not him, but somebody. Was it him that tapped out, or was it somebody else that tapped out in the Blood and Guts match? I'm trying to remember. I know that. It was. Oh no,
Sam-
Eddie had. Was it Eddie had
uh,
somebody
Eddie
in,
had somebody in
and then
the
Cesaro came up and was doing like the spin or he had he had the Boston Crab on him, and Jericho tapped. I think that's what happened.
yeah. Whatever.
It's weird because like
it's hard, right? Yeah, it's because like the Jericho Appreciation Society sucks. That's
it's
the
a
thing.
bad gimmick for a wrestling company to have a gimmick that mocks the other company.
And the worst, but like, no, I'm not even saying that. Like, it's not only that it's a bad gimmick, right? It sucks. It's just not very well
it's not
done.
very good.
It's not funny. Well, yeah, it's not funny. It's not. It stopped. It got stale, and you know how they know it got stale is that very early on, Matt Martell or whatever stopped doing the for over 6 weeks the number one, like, because they realized that if they actually kept saying the number of weeks, you'd start going, holy shit, we've been doing this for 15 weeks now. Like, because it's not good. It's not getting better. It feels like Jericho has like 5 jokes.
Well, here's the weird thing, and let's give a little praise to the Jericho Appreciation Society, because that Anarchy in the Arena match that they had, that was awesome. And the promos after that, where you thought, okay, they're toughening up 2.0 here to do something with them, hopefully. All of that was so well done. And it's one of those frustrating things with AEW, for me at least, is the dropped storylines.
And I know you like I like this hat, Jake Hager, and it is
it's okay. It's okay.
Right,
it's merely okay for me.
Right. Like, that's the thing, though, is it's like that to me belies a Jericho sensibility, and like,
yes,
yeah, like, again, he's increased his leverage in the company. If you're counting his camera time or whatever, he has increased value. But like, I don't know. I question. I think one can have negative value, and like, a lot of this stuff I don't think is adding to the show. I don't think Anna Jay's better for having been in the JAS. I don't even think at this point, what's his name, Daniel Garcia, I like.
They had something and they lost
called
it.
him what's his name.
Yeah.
He slipped my mind.
He's now become that.
Yeah, he's slipped my mind. He's becoming like literally an afterthought.
And we're doing the
and we've repeated the same like storyline multiple times now with him. Which Jericho, again, that's it. That's on him. That's on him. When Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia and like all these wrestlers who get sucked into the Jericho universe end up circling around the drain again and again. Like, Jericho has the power to end this. He could do something. And instead he's more like, oh, let's just do the Sammy Guevara storyline again this month. Am I wrong?
Well, no. I mean, it's like you had something. You had the moment they had to turn Garcia, and they didn't. And now we're back to, him and Sammy aren't going to get along eventually. And it's the Wardlow story. It's the Matt Hardy and Andrade story. This is the one story that they have. This is their tropey thing that they, we have dissension in this faction, and it's time to turn a guy, and then it's all a swerve, and we don't turn them until it's time to come around again, and then it's the diminishing return thing.
And we're supposed to be grading Jericho in this case on what is he bringing in terms of veteran leadership sort of curve. And I know you and I both have a tremendous amount of experience in the wrestling business. We talk about that all the time. No, obviously Jericho knows a lot more about the business than we do, but I'm just looking at like, is the sensibilities that Jericho is bringing to AEW really something that I would like put the stamp of, yes, this is the wisdom of the years being applied well to pave the road of the future? I would say no. I don't think anyone's learning anything by doing the Jericho Appreciation Society right now.
Yeah. And in the other company, is it too soon to tell, or are we better off without Vince McMahon?
Too soon to tell, only because it's like there is a bit of an open question still of what is McMahon's role in this company. Like,
Yeah.
what is his influence in this company? The fact that he is the majority shareholder, really, or like the dominant shareholder, or whatever the term is. That to me, I don't know. It makes it. I need more time.
Yeah, I am. Look, I get the feel good part of, hey, we're bringing back the band. We're bringing back all the people the old man fired that Triple H liked. I just haven't seen any value from anybody they've brought back, and nobody they've brought back has been kind of given the star treatment, other than the Garganos, who were quickly kind of chilled. The Loomis story was okay, but everybody else was, hey, that's so and so from NXT. And you're just, or whatever. Like, they tried a little bit with Karrion Kross, admittedly, but nothing has hit with anybody they've brought back necessarily.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any exceptions to the.
Like, I thought Tegan Knox would be a big comeback, but the way they did it was just kind of like, okay,
Not when
here
you
she
make
is.
her a living Rainbow Bright doll. No, I don't think that is the best way to present Knox, our girl.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anyone that they've brought back who's really been a big home run so far, and that to me is sort of an issue. And in some cases, some of the repackages have been downshifts, like obviously our boy Butch, Alba Fire,
Right.
Gunther, and your hope with Hunter taking back over, especially when some people did get who got their name back like right in the first week. There was like a couple of people got their name back, and we were like,
Matthew Riddle got his
Matt Riddle, yeah, right, Matt Riddle of all people, Matt Riddle gets his name back, not Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, there's been some hope. I mean, look, Gunther versus Sheamus was a hell of a match. And we kind of thought that, like, with those sorts of matches happening at the start of the Hunter era, maybe that was going to be kind of a positive trend. Right now, that trend seems to be a bit stalled. But I will also, I guess, qualify it with circling back to, let's wait and see. Not to sound like Kenny here, but it is December. This is usually when businesses tend to slow down and coast for a month anyways, unless you're in a specific industry. And with Mania season being right around the corner, this is usually when WWE takes a little bit of a breather, because the next 4 months here ends up being a big push until they get to May, June.
Predictions for 2023, Chris. I will start with a few that I think are going to happen. I think FTR leaves AEW. I don't know if they go back to WWE or they do take the break, but I do think that they're going to end up losing all three of these titles, and they are going to go off TV for a while. I do think that I think Vince McMahon tries to get back into power with WWE. Now, I don't know if it's a matter of doing something behind the scenes at a board meeting with his voting shares, or if he tries to use that to get somebody ousted off of the board. But I do think that Vince McMahon is going to cause some trouble for this new regime in some way.
It was never over for him, right?
Exactly.
Like, he didn't go out on his own terms. And I don't want to keep saying we talked about this in the last episode, but I'll recap real quickly. On the last episode, we were talking about McMahon's psychology, and I think a really important inflection point that has not been, at least I haven't seen it explored yet by YouTube content deep dive creators. And I think there's something really worth digging into there now, especially knowing what we know now about the story. The final 6 to 8 weeks of McMahon on television.
Oh, it was terrible.
No, I know, but I also thought it was really revealing. At the time, I kept saying, this is very psychological. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we didn't understand everything that was going on, but dripped of nothing other than like, I am writing my feelings out on a page and how we are going to act them out on TV. Like that's all that was going on there every time he was on television. And this was a man clearly going through it. We have seen a lot of pictures since McMahon left the company. He looks miserable in every photo we've seen, at least I've seen of him. Cody will text me, and I'll see them occasionally on the internet as well. Of McMahon, he looks like like he hates life, and it makes sense.
Are those photos with him with like 30-year-old women? Where it's, I'm a man who likes women, and you're just like,
right. Like I like bodacious babes. Yeah, like no, like get him, Vince.
I'm a man with feelings.
I'm so vital. No. I mean, honestly, every time I see him out with the woman like was substantially younger than him, to me it just reeks of I'm not dying. I'm not dying.
Yeah, and validate me.
And like on the last episode, we talked about Vince's morality very much being a morality of winning, like a winner's morality.
Yeah.
To win is to be good. To be good is to win. And winners win because they are good, and it is, it's good to win. It's like this sort of self-validating thing. I think the flip of that like we also maybe underappreciate, or we certainly didn't opine on last time, is that to lose is death, and that losing is dying. And that, like, for Vince here, like, to not somehow end this story with him back in the company would be a tremendous failure. It would be death in and of itself.
It would be demoralizing to that roster. It would absolutely. I mean, not only backstage with the family, but with the talent too.
Oh God, it'd be like that. I think it'd be demoralizing for the crowds, even.
Yeah. Well, the people who would know.
I think enough people would. I do. People are not ignorant about McMahon being.
Although there is a healthy portion of that fan base that would be happy about it.
There is. Terrifying. I mean, but like at the same time, look, there's a cult of personality for the management figures of both these companies that people can debate amongst themselves whether or not it's really earned. Or if maybe it's just people really worship powerful men or whatever for whatever reason.
I got a couple more if you don't mind.
Go. Yeah, go for it.
I do think Mercedes Varnado does appear in AEW before the end of 2023. I don't know if it's going to be January 11th in Los Angeles, but I think she's headed there. I think WWE gets cold feet on taking one of the titles off of Roman and giving it to somebody. And I'm thinking that, unfortunately, that guy is going to be Cody Rhodes. I think somebody gets cold feet about doing this because it's one of those things where maybe Rock is, kind of playing them a little bit in terms of will he be back for WrestleMania or not. But I think they're going to miss the opportunity to crown Cody Rhodes, and they're going to try and make up for it later, and it's not going to go that well. That is a prediction I have. It's not what I want, but it's a prediction I have. Anything you want to predict here, Chris?
Yeah, I am going to predict that the MJF title reign does not make it through 2023.
I kind of agree.
And I think when it is done, the assessment of it will be mid.
I think it's going to cause. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so let's assume it fails, or at least it doesn't live up.
I didn't say fail. I
didn't say fail. Okay, let's say it is just merely mid. Does Tony back up the Brinks truck just to keep MJF, or does he let him go in 2024?
I don't know. I think Tony, I mean, this is the problem with Tony, right? Like, we have seen this year, psychology-wise, and we were talking about McMahon's psychology, we saw Tony have a few breakdowns publicly where we really got to see the nougaty core of what's going on in Khan's mind. This man is besieged on all sides. He is the most, underdog billionaire you ever did see. He thinks he's in like this war of attrition against WWE, and thus anything they get is him losing. And he's really like deep in a zero-sum mindset right now. So I do see him backing up the Brinks truck, especially if the hype train around MJF continues to be like, this guy's really valuable. I'm not saying he's like got no value or whatever, but how much value does he have remains to be seen a little bit to me. I think he's a good talker. Yeah. I think he's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, look, his size is what his size is. So there's like a limit on his size utility. And then in terms of his match, I still need to see a little bit more before I know how I feel about like how deep the match can go.
Does CM Punk appear in a WWE ring before the end of 2023?
I'm going to go the other way. I think CM Punk is back in AEW.
Ooh. I think he doesn't appear anywhere in wrestling. I think he's done.
Anywhere in wrestling.
I think he's done.
See, I think Khan, ever the businessman, and again, stuck in this zero-sum mindset, and also, like, if I may cover the kid's ears, him being a little bit of a bitch. Like he gets owned by the wrestlers.
His skin's a little thin. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Well, and the wrestlers are able to pull his strings too a little bit. Like honestly, all of the colloquial term, like ways that we use this, like not like an engendered way, sort of apply fairly aptly to him. And again, this is based off of like watching him in these press conferences here. Like, I think the wrestlers work this guy. I think that he's got thin skin. I think like the idea of Phil Brooks being on TV, especially after losing Regal. I think you can actually drive the needle in the Khan, and then Khan brings back Punk. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I want to be really clear here. I'm just saying it's a thing that I think could happen.
I would be fascinated by that because I actually think they do business. I think
it's a business angle right there.
I think you'd get a lot of backbiting from the locker room. Don't get me wrong. I think you'd get the same people who were snarking before going to some of the newsletters and stuff like that and doing that. But I could see them go, hey, let's do this one hot feud, like a 3-month program to blow off your involvement in AEW type of a thing. I could see that happening.
I mean, there's that. And I mean, look, as we look back at this, to reference and quote the movie Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, the wrong kid died during
that's a pull. Let's do this then. Let's okay, I got a couple of things here. I want one surprise firing from each company, and then who do you think the men's and women's title holders will be in both companies at this time in 2023?
Surprise firing
or release.
yeah, Slapjack.
Stop, come on.
Okay, fine. Yeah, you're a savage.
Because I think mine for WWE is Ronda Rousey.
Oh yeah, it's funny. She got really, she's like back too, right?
Well, she never got released. She went on a break for the kid, but I think she's done with wrestling after WrestleMania.
That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, one would argue that she hasn't really started with wrestling.
No, that's true.
A surprise release. Who did they? Oh, you know what? Bodie Hayward. Surprise release for me. I don't know. He's the number one. But like
he's already been released.
What?
He's already been released.
You said surprise release.
Oh, I meant for next year. I didn't mean for this year.
Oh, for this year. Oh, for this. Oh, yeah.
For next year. For 2023.
I thought you were asking me. You know,
I was very surprised by that too. To be honest with you.
I know. I mean, like the guy did everything right. I don't know what the. Yeah, you're like no. All right. A surprise release for next year. Who does not make it next year on WWE?
Trying to think of one of AEW while you're thinking. Because there's a number. Because that roster's pretty
okay. Io Shirai.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially if Vince comes back.
Yeah, I could see. Like, look, they don't they don't know how to present her. If you are an EO fan, and I like her and everything, but if you're an EO fan and you're watching her right now, you got to be pulling your collar a little bit. This is a generational talent, and she's being presented as the third in a shitty faction.
Yes. Yeah, but
am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, and I'm sad about that because I really.
No, I don't think that's. I don't think it's a good. I'm not saying that's good. Like obviously we think everyone in this faction is good. Like it's not. There's nothing to do with damage control. The personnel being bad wrestlers, but man, Io Sky's presentation versus Io Shirai, the disparity there is massive.
Yeah.
It's the difference, between like a toy Godzilla and actual Godzilla.
Yeah, this will not be a surprise release necessarily, but for the level they are, maybe I think both Andrade and Rush are out of AEW by the end of next year. Hey, okay. Andrade probably won't be back after this quote unquote suspension and his surgery, but I think Rush also wears out his welcome and he's gone by the end of the year.
I'll go one more.
Okay.
I think at least one member of the Blackpool Combat Club is gone by the end of the year. And not Wheeler Yuta.
No, I could see Cesaro gone. I could see Bryan Danielson being tired of this.
Yeah.
Moxley, I can't. Moxley is just.
Oh, no, I'm not saying not Moxley. Although,
yeah.
Papa Trips. If Papa Trips,
he's not a WWE guy. He'll never go back.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. After the hot dogs, you're right. The hot dog truck.
Yeah, that won't ever happen.
Yeah, I'll never get a reunion
for champions. I think in WWE you're gonna have the title split again, and I think one's gonna be Cody Rhodes, probably crowned at Survivor Series or maybe even SummerSlam. And on the other one, I think Brock Lesnar. I'll go with that. I think Brock and Cody are your two title holders in for the men, and for the women, I'll go fairly chalk. I think SmackDown it'll be Roxanne Perez. I think she'll get brought up after the Mania, and I think on Raw it'll probably be Rhea Ripley. And then in AEW men's champ, I'm going to say Bryan Danielson. I think eventually, no, maybe not Danielson because they're going to MJF already with that. So how about this? How about Hangman Page as your AEW champion going in 2024 and your women's champion? Probably Britt Baker.
Okay. I almost want to I like Britt Baker, probably the champion going into 2024, right? That feels fairly strong. As we've discussed with Hayter, Hayter's story is still very much an adjunct to Baker's story, right? AEW's men's champion. I think that Jack Perry is ultimately the guy who is going to get the belt here.
I like that.
Yeah,
if they can tell the story.
They can tell the story, especially both with MJF being a childhood star, childhood celebrity, Perry being the son of an actor. There's some real interesting tensions between the two guys. And I look, Jack Perry's not a bad wrestler. Obviously he's no Action Andretti, as evidenced by the records against Chris Jericho, but I think that there's a lot of room for Perry to grow. And I think that he would be a good choice. The question will be, against my prediction here, is Tony Khan going to stay stuck in the hell loop of let's wait one time too many every single time for every single story beat?
The Dusty thing, because Dusty had this problem too, where it's who's going to be the guy to unseat Flair, and it's he'd always wait one cycle too late to do it with Barry, with Sting, with Luger. And then it would always be, well, I got to put the belt back on me type of a thing.
Right. And you have this with Hayter, and you had this with the Acclaimed, and you had this. I mean, there's a number of different people who get stuck with this one time too many sort of, Wardlow, I guess, would be kind of a good one time too many thing. And I guess theoretically Wardlow could be in the title hunt, but for some reason, I mean, at this point, if you were going to put chips on Wardlow or Jack Perry, who are you putting chips on? I'm putting chips on Jack Perry.
Wardlow could be a guy that gets unhappy and asked to leave or get cut. I could see that happen too.
He actually wouldn't be. He would be a pretty good surprise release candidate as well, in the sense that, like, I think it would be very surprising to people, like, leaving this year. This is a guy who had what was supposed to be a, signature pay-per-view ending, moment in his career or whatever, and it got completely nerfed. And the company never got him back on track. They completely derelicted him.
Yes.
Yeah, I could totally see him being like, why would I stay here? Mm-hmm. And if you're sitting from Wardlow's position, what is the point? It's almost the real kiss of death to get pushed as much as Wardlow was, and then just have it all evaporate.
Well, WWF, man, they love doing this. They love taking your guys, these jacked up dudes who other places, oh, you're not doing as well as you should be. Come on over here, and just give them the monster push. Or at least they used to. That used to be a Vince special, So, yeah, I could see that happening too. Who do you have in WWE?
For champions.
Yes.
I like the Cody Rhodes thing. Feels like it's got to happen at some point this year.
Yeah, but that also feels like it's going to be one pay-per-view too late to me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like SummerSlam Survivor Series, it does feel like it's going to be late. In terms of the other one, I think the Lesnar as champion era is over.
Okay. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, I think that they have gotten colder feet on. Like, okay, the main event Brock, look, they got a ton of mileage out of that. Yeah, nearly a decade of this, like herky jerk Brock pushing stuff. But like I think we hit the rocks with that a little bit too. So then the question would be like, who would be the other champion here? Kevin Owens. I think, would he be I think it might be a hot potato situation. I think Cody might be the fixed champion, and then once they get the belt off of Roman, I think the red herring here is thinking
give Owens the ceremonial type run.
Yeah,
early season.
And start a rotation for 6 months or whatever. Like that potato does kind of hot potato
on the SmackDown title, probably.
Yeah,
because that's the one that they don't care about.
Right. Well, and that would kind of tie into my other prediction of they are not going to probably hang on to the Fox deal. I think ultimately WWE just consolidates fully into NBC here.
I was reading that article. I didn't want to bring it up because it's just innuendo and analysis type thing. But man, I think Fox is giving them something great here in terms of over $2 million a week on Friday night. I mean, I could see Fox overpaying to put them on Fox Sports 1, though, to move them to the cable channel because, it's one of those things. Well, we don't want this trash on our network, but we can put it there. But I also think doing that, I think Peacock / NBC Universal might overpay for this. But then we'd get the same like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on USA glut.
Right. I mean, I just in my gut, I think look, WWE did kind of an interesting. It's a gamble. It's a big gamble. I don't know. I love it, but if this works out, essentially they put Fox and NBC in a situation where NBC wants to, they're playing a game of Monopoly here, and NBC wants to get the full set of yellows here. So NBC will probably overpay to get the full set, and Fox is in the seller position. So, I think equilibrium was ultimately Fox exits this, NBC gets everything, and WWE probably gets paid more than they're worth.
Yeah, and I think they are. It's funny because then you're going to hear they get paid more than they're worth, and then you're going to hear, I love me Uncle Dave. But Uncle Dave's going to say, well, AEW could probably then go get more than they're worth from somebody else, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, good luck with that. Because
wish casting is cool.
Well, I think it's going to be a 1-to-1 thing, and I just think WWE still has the shelf space as opposed to AEW in terms of name recognition, etc. And plus they've been in bed with Peacock / NBC for so long now that they'll just overpay to keep them just to keep that synergy going, as opposed to we want this live wrestling product on our networks type of thing, which I think like Dave always, they love doing the UFC stuff and they love the wrestling stuff and the television rights, and the NFL just got a big deal with YouTube TV for their Sunday ticket, et cetera, et cetera. And then we look and we go, well, what does that mean for AEW? And I'm like, these are all vastly different products. So we'll hear a lot of that in the narrative, but
yeah. And I think, what does that mean for AEW? The big difference between AEW and WWE is that when you say WWE, people either think you mean WWF because they're older,
yes,
and that's what they remember, or they know what WWE means immediately. And so the letters that spouted out of your mouth there implied wrestling. When you say AEW, that to a person who does not follow professional wrestling, which is most normies, could just as well be the power company. And like that is the difference between name recognition between these two companies right now. And so like, yeah, it's I get how in some ways, yeah, it's good to now do analysis of the performance, but AEW still has a lot of work to do to catch up with the name recognition that WWE has, and that affects their marketability.
Right. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I don't. Just another cup.
How's your nog? How's your nog?
I just a fresh cup of that, Jeffrey, so we can stay on here and we can get to the nougaty core of life's mysteries if you want to.
No, look, we're a wrestling show.
No?
We don't need core lives mysteries.
No, I actually see. You say that, but I view this show as a healing show that discusses wrestling as a means to an end.
When was the last time you were healed by this show, Chris?
I don't know. A lot of people say I'm a heel.
No, they don't. You can follow me on Twitter at CrapGame13. You can follow the show at Shake Their Mouth. We are part of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Hey, guess what? We did a Secret Santa thing on Voices of Wrestling. Go read all those articles, watch all those matches. I've already apologized for trashing the gift that I got because I got Mankind versus Santa Claus in a boil room brawl, which I did not enjoy at all. But, there's a lot of good matches other than the ones that I got. I gave a good one. I gave Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio from ECW television, the 2 out of 3 falls one. That was a great match. But yeah, but yes, go enjoy the flagship and the other content within there. Chris, you can follow on Instagram. He's going to tell you about all his projects and his big move to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Give a street address while you're at it too, Chris.
Yeah, I'm going to give people the street address of my new place in Albuquerque. People, I'm loading into a truck. Well, I'm loading stuff into a truck, and then I'm taking that truck and picking up a trailer in Fort Worth, and then driving that to Rio Rancho, and then dropping off the truck and like unloading my car. And anyways, I'm moving to Albuquerque. It's going to be really cool. And that's exciting. You can follow the move at Instagram.com/Dr. DOCTOR_NOV. That's Dr. Nove. That's also where I put up music type things. And there will be a lot of music releases coming in the spring part, because all the tracking and stuff is done now. And we're just getting final mixes on things. So that's going to be exciting. Follow on Instagram. If you want guitar lessons, it's also great. It's the season, not just for HelloFresh, but also for New Year's resolutions. Like this year, I'm going to learn guitar. Why not do it? Why not be somebody? Huh?
Yeah. Once again, we'd like to thank HelloFresh. Use code VOW18, correct, Chris? Or is there?
Yes, and it is America's #1 meal kit.
And get what 70 or
18? You get 18 free
and free shipping.
The shipping's always free.
Okay, cool. Well,
yeah. No. They liberated that.
Not sure if I'm gonna do a show next week. If I do, Chris will not be here. But if something big happens, maybe I'll roll on and cut an hour with somebody. But we will see you in 2023, and we will see if any of these bad predictions we made will come true. If I can end this show, here we go.
Get ready, Ohio. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is coming to the Buckeye State. And to kick things off, you can get started with $100 in free bets as an early sign-up bonus. Just download FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Make every moment more with FanDuel. 21 plus and present in Ohio. Bonus issued and non-withdrawable free bets that expire 30 days after FanDuel accepts its first real money sports wager in Ohio. Go live date. Unique user identity verification required. Offer ends on the go live date. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This episode is brought to you by Zelle. Whenever you're sending money through an app or online, it's important to do it safely. Here are a few helpful tips. First, always make sure you know and trust the person you are sending money to. Second, confirm you have entered their contact details correctly. And finally, if you don't trust the person or your recipient is rushing you to send money right away, think twice before sending money through an app or online.